Welcome back to our rapid prototyping class. This is our session number 2, and we're going to continue with the Loft tool. So in last exercise, we have 2 sketches that we were lofting. So in this particular demo, we're going to see what happens when we have more than one sketch. So first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to my top plane, and I'd like to create multiple planes in one step. So once you have your plane highlighted, I'm going to go on the reference geometry plane. I'm going to create, right here is the number of planes item. I'm going to say 3 more planes, and I'd like to have them 3 inches apart. So I'm going to type 3 right here, hit OK. And now I'm going to have 4 planes total. So that's going to be my step number 1. Step number 2, as I mentioned before, in the past exercise, we did only 2 sketches. Here we're going to have 4. So I'm going to start sketching on my bottom plane, which is my top plane. So I'm going to go to my top plane, make a new sketch. And here, I'm going to grab an ellipse. I'm going to make sure that the ellipse is locked in the horizontal position. So I'm going to start adding dimensions. I want to do this because I want to have full control of the dimensions and size. So first dimension will be on the minor axis, and this will be 2 inches. And on my major axis, I'm going to have 4 inches. Now my sketch should be fully defined, and I'm going to hit OK. So you're going to have that at the bottom. Next off, I'm going to work with my next sketch, which is on my plane number 1. Remember, we're doing this as a sequence. So accordingly to my sequence, plane number 1 is next. So I'm going to make a new sketch. Again, I mentioned before, try not to sketch on perspective. Always use the normal 2 tool. And here, I'm going to use an ellipse, but this time around, I'm going to lock it on my y-axis. There we go. Slightly smaller than the previous one. On the major axis, I'm going to have 3 inches. And on the minor axis, I'm going to have 2 inches. So now we have 2 sketches. That's what we had before, but on this particular exercise, we're going to keep working all the way up to our plane number 3. So our next sketch will be on a 3rd plane, which is plane number 2. Spacebar normal 2. Make a new sketch. And remember, I'm sketching because I see these 2 icons right here. I'm going to grab a circle on this one. And I'm going to set a diameter of 2.25 inches. Slightly larger than my previous ellipse. There we go. So now we have our 3rd sketch. And then last but not least, my final sketch. And this sketch, I'd like to have exactly the same shape that I started with. So I can go 2 ways. I could draw the ellipse again, or because these 2 planes are parallel, I should be able to make a copy of the sketch right here. 2 things, I'm gonna skip a step of drawing the whole thing again. And the second thing is gonna make a relation between the 2 ends. So if I change this one will change accordingly. So first, I need to make sure that I'm sketching. Then highlight the sketch that you want to copy. In this case, will be our sketch number 1. And then I'm gonna hit the tool that we have been working this whole term with, is convert entities. So I'm gonna hit convert entities. And now I have exactly a copy of my original sketch. I'm gonna hit OK. And now I have all the elements that I want to create my multi-sketch loft. So I'm gonna go under loft. And very important, you're gonna see the quadrants on each one of the items. Quadrant is every 90-degree portion or section of the ellipse. So like I mentioned in the previous exercise, I like to always keep the same directionality. So I'm gonna go outer left to outer left. And if you remember, this new item comes up, which is our connector. So what happens is if I hit OK, like before, it's gonna create a connection between the two. If I want to continue with my loft, I go back to it. I created my loft number 1, and I'm gonna do number 2 from here to here to here. I'm gonna have a nicer connection because I'm connecting 3 at the same time, not only 2. And the big difference is right here. If you see the section right here, this one has tangency. So when we're connecting 2 or 3 at the same time, loft will take care of tangency. If I don't do that, if I zoom in right here, you're gonna see that there's no tangency, right? There is a break between my 180 degree between this one and this one. So ideally, when you have more than one profile, what you would like to do is to have a nice continuous cutout or surface instead of having any breaks along the way. So this is not right. I would like to have something that is nice and smooth from bottom to top. So when you're lofting more than one profile, you should be doing the whole loft as one step instead of doing it in sections. So now that I know that, I'm gonna go back and delete my 2 lofts. And I'm gonna reloft again. Now don't forget, it's really important that the connector is aligned on the same spot. Meaning outer center, outer center, outer center. Don't forget you have the freedom to move this around, and that's gonna change the shape. At the beginning, I don't want to do that. We can play with the shapes later. So right now, what I wanna have is a nice continuation from bottom to top, having a very smooth surface all the way around. So I'm gonna hit OK. Now, if I check that section right here, we don't have any tangency issues. So we got a very successful loft with multiple sketches. The next thing that I want to talk about will be tangency when you have more than one object. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror this shape on top of it. Mirror. Don't forget this is not a feature, this is a body. So I'm gonna open up bodies, click on the object, and then I gotta find the folding plane, which will be in this particular case, plane number 3. So I'm gonna click on it and I'm gonna hit OK. Some cases, you're not able to do the entire model out of 5, 6 plus different profiles. So cases like that, we got a second approach. So let's say that our object is going to be really smooth between here and here. If I zoom in, you can clearly see that there's no tangency at this point. So, and I'm going to go back and copy all the sketches. So there's a really useful tool under Loft to include tangency after the fact. And this is how it works. I'm going to go back to Loft 3 and I'm going to hit Edit Features. So the problem is at the beginning and at the end, this is creating a straight line right here. So there's no tangency here because we don't have any reference. So we could have a construction line, we can have another object, but in this case, we have none. Cases like this, what will control the tangency points will be an option called start and end constraints, which is right here. Don't forget, the blue box is the box that is active, is the information that SOLIDWORKS needs. So I need to open that box up and make sure it's active. Start will be the first sketch that you clicked on, and end constraint will be the last sketch that you clicked on. So I want to add tangency. bottom on top. So I'm gonna go here and you see default, which means a straight connection between the sketches. I wanna change that and add my tangency by flipping this to normal to profile. So what I'll do, if I zoom in right here, instead of making a straight edge right here, what it will do is gonna create a 90-degree relationship right here at the bottom. In case that I need to copy or mirror this shape, I'm gonna have a nice smooth transition. So that's what normal 2 will do. It will create a perpendicular relation between the following shape, which is this one, and the original shape, which is this one. On top of it, you're gonna see this purple arrow, and this will control the amount of tangency, so you can type a number or you can go visually and reduce or increase the tangency that you need. Now on my second one, here's how you type it, and I just eyeballed it. And on my second one, I also want to have tangency. So I'm going to go normal to profile. Now I have tangency here, tangency at the bottom. I'm going to hit OK. And this is what we got. Now I don't have to worry about tangency here. So I'm going to turn off my planes for a second. And also I'm going to change my shaded mode to shaded with no lines. So I don't see anything that's going on right there. So out of 2 pieces, I have 1 smooth piece. And if I go under evaluate and put my zebra stripes, you're gonna see a nice transition on your lighting. All the stripes are moving smoothly and nicely along the shape. You're not gonna see any breaks. So I'm gonna leave this on for a second. And then I'm gonna change my end constraint to default. Hit OK. And now you see this break between the 2 shapes. So this is what we would like to try to avoid. So instead of sketching 8 different profiles, what I'm going to do is just mirror it like I did. And then I use my normal to profile tool to correct all these problems. Hit OK. Got it. I'm going to turn that off. And going back to my nice, beautiful shape. So things to keep in mind. First of all, how to create planes in a sequence. We already have that. How to create your profiles. That's number 2. And then pay attention to your connectors. Don't forget, you have to go in an orderly fashion. So I went from bottom to top or top to bottom. It doesn't matter. But what I cannot go or do is go from the first one to the third one and then come back to the second one, because it's going to be a self-intersecting part. So in order for Loft to work properly, you have to have a direction. And then you can choose bottom to top or top to bottom. And that'll be all. Hit OK. Now I got my shape. And this will conclude our point number 2 when we're lofting, which is tangency, and also what happens when you have multiple planes. Thank you.